chaos in Brooklyn after police officers shot a teenager dead. Two plainclothes police officers shot and killed 16-year-old Kimani Gray over the weekend. Police say the Brooklyn resident pointed a gun at them before they opened fire, but some witnesses dispute this. Last night, around 100 people took to the streets in East Flatbush, Brooklyn, to protest the teen's death.
Stop killing our baby! They are our baby! Stop killing our kids! Okay? Stop coming to our neighborhood and killing us off! We're paying you guys to protect the children, not to kill the children!
Kimani Gray, 16 years old, another black youth killed by the police. I mean, how long are we going to have to bury our youth who lose their lives at the hands of the police? Look, the police, whenever they murder or kill a black or Latino youth, it is always deemed justifiable homicide. The witnesses tell a different story. I've been in court with police. They this happened, testify through lies. This happens again and again. It's unacceptable and it must be stopped. And I'll tell you, it's going to take revolution, nothing less, to stop it. We should live in a society where those who are entrusted with public security would sooner risk their own lives than murder or injure an innocent person. But it's the other way around. Marley Gray shot in his own bathroom last year up in the Bronx. In that same part of Brooklyn, Shanta Davis shot down by another part of Brooklyn, a young man named Robinson, run over by a police car because the police thought he was stealing bricks. This is why people are upset, and they should be upset. And I got to tell you, they should stand up and resist this. We need more of that.
A protest in Brooklyn intensify as new details emerge of the death of Kimani Gray. For the third night, angry protesters took to the streets of East Flatbush, Brooklyn.
If a cop kill your kid, what you gonna do?
What y'all gonna do? We got all this on camera.
If a cop shoot your kid, what you gonna do?
This was the scene in Brooklyn last night. You can see protesters enraged over the police shooting of 16-year-old Brooklyn resident. The standoff between protesters and cops turned violent, with protesters hurling bottles and other objects. Can you describe the mood over there? Things have gotten, as we've seen, very tense.
Yeah, well, there's clearly a boiling point that this community is reaching. The crowds that broke out into riots for the past 3 nights are very enraged, of course becoming more enraged when finding out through an autopsy that Kimani Gray was shot 7 times, 3 of those bullets hitting him in the back by 2 plainclothes police officers. This angered a community that feels that it has been targeted repeatedly for years by the New York City Police Department. It's beyond a dialogue and conversation, which is why you see so many people people flooding the streets, displaying a lot of frustration and a lot of anger over the fatal shooting of this 16-year-old boy that was standing in front of his best friend's home. And many say that he did not point a gun at the police officers. That is what authorities are alleging, that these two plainclothes officers shot at Kimani Gray after he allegedly pointed a gun at them. But friends and family of this 16-year-old boy who passed on Saturday, who was killed on Saturday, say that he is not the type of teenager that would ever do such a thing. A scene unfolding that was somewhat of a mayhem. You had protesters. It started out as a peaceful vigil for Kimani Gray, but then part of those that were taking part in the vigil broke off and stormed the streets. There were those that were throwing bottles and bricks and garbage cans. There were police dressed in riot gear that were slamming men and women down on the ground, spraying them with pepper spray before arresting them. As you already said, police officer one, according to authorities, was hit in the head with a brick. And so also, according to reports, one of the 46 people arrested was Kimani Gray's sister. This is a scene that's unfolding worse and worse as each day passes. Look, I was in East Flatbush just yesterday, and I was speaking to people on the streets, and they said to me, this is not a story that is going to go away. It's not just going to stop. The community, and not just that community, we have to say that this is a frustration that spreads throughout New York City of the way that the police treat young teenagers, treat blacks and Hispanics, treat minorities. They feel they're being targeted, and it seems that it's reached a boiling point, as you could tell by the scenes that we're showing.
Mainstream media coverage, I mean, on the surface, this is a big story. Somebody was shot and killed, 46 people arrested in the ensuing riots. Do people feel like they're being ignored?
Well, to be quite honest with you, Liz, I have to say, because I'm here in New York City, the local news outlets have been covering the story. They have. It's not a story that has been ignored by local news outlets. I have not seen the story reported, at least I haven't seen extensively on the major news networks or the cable channels. Why they're choosing not to report on this story is a question they have to answer.
I think what makes this story unique is the backlash that we're seeing and the ensuing the riot.
So I live in Brooklyn, not too far away from this. I was sitting on my couch when things started to really escalate, and I had no idea that anything was going on, except when I checked my Twitter feed and it was just blowing up about Brooklyn, and I was like, what's going on? So they were the first to tell me about it, and I live, not too far away, about a mile away. And people were tweeting videos, and they were tweeting what was going on, and the mainstream media was absolutely silent on it. So that's where I was getting all the information.
Yeah, we have some tweets here. I wanted to read them, if we can put them up there. Occupy Theory says, #NYPD declared a portion of Flatbush a frozen zone, i.e. media are not allowed in and people can be subjected to arrest. And that has the #Brooklyn protest. Another one there, media reporting on new pope for 20 straight hours while helicopters and riot gear are deployed on the streets of New York. And the last one we have there from Occupy Wall Street, New York. Brooklyn took to the streets for the third straight night. When will we be heard? So, Lori, do you think you had mentioned that mainstream coverage of this story is scarce, and it appears to be a pretty big story. Somebody was shot and killed, 46 people arrested. So do you think people kind of maybe feel like they're being ignored, and social media is the way to get this story out?
Yeah, well, especially when you have a kid that dies. It's such a tragedy. It's so awful. When you have a 16-year-old that dies in your community, you want the world to know. You want everyone to know that this tragedy happened. You want the facts out there. And so, of course, the community feels like they're being jilted by the mainstream media.
Kimani Gray's mother, Carol Gray, for the first time spoke to the media a few hours ago. She held a press conference. She was dressed in all black. She was wearing sunglasses. She said on the record she does not believe that her son pointed a gun at police officers. She described the sorrow and the pain that she felt when she had to pick out a casket for her 16-year-old son.
Anytime that there's any gun violence in this neighborhood concerning police, cops shooting innocent teenagers and killing them.
Last Saturday, 16-year-old Kimani Gray was killed by police, shot 4 times in the front and 3 in the back. The NYPD claimed the teen had pointed a gun at them. However, this remains uncertain.
There was a weapon that no one saw, not his friends, his family didn't know he had a weapon, and there were a lot of witnesses outside who were able to see it, that this individual, this child, didn't have a weapon on him.
As these candles burn in memory of yet another killed youth, an entire community rises up night after night to demand justice and an end to police brutality. For 3 nights in a row, peaceful vigils turned chaotic. Clashes broke out, leaving 1 officer hospitalized after reportedly being injured with a brick. A total of 46 arrests were made Wednesday.
No justice, no peace.
But no violence erupted Thursday night. Tensions, however, still ran high.
To me, it's no different than what's going on in Palestine, you know? So it's like it's like another country.
A lot of people are just tired of it, period.
With solutions to stop the violence nowhere in sight, deeply seated issues between the police and the community remain unaddressed, leaving many worried.